Have you ever wondered why your eyes sometimes feel like they're not the true ones seeing? Why you can sense what's behind a lie without evidence? Or dream of places you've never walked but somehow know? Before sight was filtered through flesh and form, vision came through the soul. You were never meant to rely on these eyes alone. The ancients knew this. Thoth, the keeper of time, the scribe of the gods, encoded a forbidden path within you, a vibrational key that awakens the inner eye and bends the veil until it breaks. There is a place inside your forehead, behind the bone, behind the thought, where light whispers in geometries and memories surface as flashes of energy. When you silence the world and hear only the pulse behind your breath, you begin to feel it, that sacred doorway Thoth spoke of. Not a metaphor, not imagination, a literal gateway within the energetic matrix of your being. This is not fantasy. This is the forgotten science of your divine sight. If you feel your third eye tingling right now, type "I am ready to see beyond" in the comments. This moment is not random. You were called. Thoth did not write for the masses. He etched in silence. He hid the codes in vibration, so only the attuned would understand. And those codes are not found in dusty scrolls. They are pulsing within you. He spoke of the eye that does not blink, the eye that sees without light, the eye that was closed, not by God but by the noise of men. You carry that eye, you've just forgotten how to look from it. To activate it is not to see spirits floating or colors swirling, though they may come. It is to perceive the structure of reality as it moves beneath appearance, to know when someone's smile is lying, to feel the shape of a moment before it unfolds, to stand in a place and read its memory. This is what it means to see, not with the eyes, but with the source. The technique is not complex, but it is sacred. It begins not with effort, but surrender. Close your eyes, not to block the world, but to awaken the one within. Bring breath into the space between your eyebrows. Do not force. Do not search. Just listen to the silence there. Breathe again. Hold the inhale. In the stillness between breath, feel the vibration. That is the gate. You are not hallucinating when visions come. You are decoding. The pineal gland, crystalline in structure, is not just a gland. It is a receiver, a transmitter. The ancients called it the seat of divine light, and Thoth taught that when it is bathed in golden breath, when the spine hums in harmony, it opens like a flower blooming inward. That is not poetry. That is frequency, science. Modern energetic researchers have only begun to understand what Thoth encoded. That heart coherence, pineal activation, and intentioned breath produce a standing wave, a field of stabilized consciousness. In that state, you don't merely witness truth, you become the truth. Your vision no longer scans, it knows. This is inner vision, sacred sight, divine perception. But most cannot reach it, because they are saturated with artificial light, synthetic sound, broken language. The eye cannot open in distortion. It needs resonance. It needs stillness. You cannot force it. You must remember it. And that memory lives beneath the noise of identity, beneath fear, beneath urgency. You must descend to rise. You must be still to see. In the temples of Thoth, initiates would sit in pitch darkness for days, not as punishment, as purification. In silence, the mind screams and then dies. In stillness, the ego grasps and then releases. And in that space beyond grasping, something ancient stirs. It begins as a flicker, a pulse. Then images not from this world begin to form. The veil begins to ripple. And in that ripple, you remember you were never blind. You simply forgot where to look. The light behind your eyes is older than your body. It does not flicker like fire, it pulses like a code. And once it begins to stir, nothing in your outer life remains untouched. The forbidden technique of Thoth was never about accessing power. It was about returning to the original sight, the divine witnessing that existed before fear was taught, before thought was separated from truth. This is not about opening your third eye. This is about remembering that it was never closed, only buried beneath layers of illusion. You are not here to be dazzled by psychic tricks or visions that entertain the ego. You are here to see through illusion with the clarity of the gods. That clarity is fierce. It will show you what your personality is not ready to handle. It will strip away every mask. You will see energy as it truly moves, not as people pretend it to be. But to see clearly is to be free. And Thoth knew. Freedom begins when truth is no longer hidden from the inner eye. As the inner vision activates, you may begin to feel pressure behind your forehead. This is not imagination. It is the crystalline core of the pineal awakening to subtle electromagnetic signal. The ancient texts call this the flower of fire. Because when the breath and awareness meet in this center, light bursts inward, not outward. In those moments, you are not learning something new. You are awakening what has always been yours. When you begin to see beyond the visible, you will also begin to feel what you see. Colors will have texture. Sounds will have geometry. People will become transparent, even when they try to hide. This is the gift of inner sight. But it is also the responsibility. You will know things, not because you studied them, but because your field will mirror the truth like still water. Thoth warned of the danger of premature activation. That's why he hid the codes behind silence. He knew that those who chase visions for power would be distorted by what they saw. Only those who walked in inner stillness could carry the weight of true sight. So ask yourself, can you hold what is revealed without needing to act? Can you observe distortion in another without correcting it? True vision does not control. It beholds. The forbidden technique, then, is not a spell or phrase. It is a reorientation of awareness. It is to anchor your attention, not in your forehead, but in the quantum seat behind it. From there, you listen. You listen to the space between your thoughts. You observe the feeling tone of a moment, the shape of an emotion, the energetic residue in a word. You become so still that the unseen begins to reflect in you, like starlight on a dark lake. This is vibrational alchemy. To shift from noise to knowing, to feel what a place is saying without sound, to walk into a room and hear what was said before you arrived, to hold an object and feel the story it carries. You don't need to seek these abilities. They are already encoded in your field. They are side effects of coherence, and coherence is cultivated in silence. The key is not more effort, but deeper surrender. Inhale slowly. Feel the air not just enter your lungs, but ripple through your spine. As you exhale, send your awareness into the crown, then let it rest behind the brow. Stay there, not in tension, but in reverence. If a vision comes, do not chase it. If a sound arises, let it pass through you. You are not trying to perceive. You are letting perception remember you. For those who walk this path, the world becomes transparent. Time becomes flexible. You begin to know things before they happen, not because you predicted them, but because you have merged with the undercurrent where all things unfold before form. This is not magic. It is remembrance. And remembrance is the highest vision there is. There is a sacred danger in awakening inner vision, not because it brings harm, but because it brings clarity. And clarity is uncompromising. When the veil begins to lift, everything you once used to define yourself begins to dissolve. The illusions you protected, the stories you clung to, the masks you wore out of necessity, they all fall before the gaze of true sight. Thoth never meant for this technique to entertain the mind. He intended it to burn through it. The eye of Thoth is not a passive witness. It is a divine mirror. It reflects not only the world outside, but the distortions within. That's why the first thing you see when you awaken this frequency is not angels or visions, but your own falsehoods, the shadows you buried, the thoughts you pretended were healed, the vibrations you absorbed unconsciously. But this is not punishment. It is purification. To see clearly, you must first see yourself clearly. The ancient temples were structured in resonance. Their geometry, sound, and silence were aligned with star codes, not to impress, but to tune the initiate. You are a temple now. Your breath is the incense, your spine, the pillar, your awareness, the sacred flame. When you sit in stillness and attune to your breath, you are entering that ancient architecture. The inner chambers of your soul respond, and in that echo, vision returns. But not all frequencies are welcome within you. Modern life is full of distorted tones, artificial light, chaotic words, screens pulsing at disharmonic speeds. These things may seem normal, but they corrode the field. They scatter the light behind your brow. They make the eye sleepy, distracted, reactive. This is why silence is your ally, and solitude, and sacred sound. You must create within your life a sanctuary for coherence. One forgotten chant that Thoth spoke of was not in language but in tone. A sound that vibrates in the back of the throat and curves up the spine like a serpent of light. You may not need to speak it aloud. You may feel it as a hum that rises in meditation, uninvited. Do not resist it. That tone is your soul remembering how to sing through you. It carries codes. It clears space. It activates sight. When vision returns, you will notice how little others truly see. Not with judgment, but with compassion. You will realize most people are reacting to surface signals, reading noise as meaning. But you will feel what's underneath, the grief hidden in smiles, the tension beneath pleasantries, the longing behind anger. And your words will change. Your presence will soften. Your silence will begin to teach. The eye does not demand evidence. It knows. That knowing can be painful at first because it reveals how many truths you've ignored. But over time, that knowing becomes peace. Because when you see energy clearly, you no longer need to control it. You respond from alignment. You move as the field moves. You trust what you feel, even if your mind doubts it. You may begin to dream differently. The veil thins at night. Your dreams may turn vivid, symbolic, prophetic. Do not analyze them with logic. Feel them. Let their frequency speak. Let their imagery initiate you. For Thoth often taught in dreams, using symbols that bypass the mind and awaken memory directly. If a feather appears, or a serpent, or a sun within a cube, listen. Something ancient is stirring. And when the visions begin to spill into your waking life, flashes of light, sudden intuitions, knowing the phone will ring before it does, do not call it coincidence. Call it reactivation. This is not new. This is ancient. This is you. There will come a moment, subtle, silent, almost missed, where your inner sight shifts from effort to essence. You no longer try to see. You simply are the seeing. You no longer search for signs. They appear before the question forms. This is the moment the eye opens without force, the moment when the technique of Thoth becomes not a practice, but a presence. And yet, this moment does not arrive like lightning. It blooms like a lotus in the dark, slow, intentional, unfolding petal by petal through silence, surrender, and still breath. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be demanded. You do not conquer the eye, you kneel before it. And in that humility, the current begins to hum again through the temple of your skull, ancient, crystalline, wise. The pineal is not activated by willpower, but by reverence. Think of it as a divine lens, calcified by modern chaos, but still alive, still waiting. Fluoride, blue light, emotional suppression. They cloud it, mute it, seal it. But sacred breath, sound, and focused awareness begin to polish the lens. And as it clears, you don't see more of the world. You see into it. Thoth wrote of the light that walks in darkness, but is not consumed by it. That light is the vision of the awakened. When your inner eye opens, you begin to sense the rhythm beneath form, the flow behind conversations, the shape of moments as they're forming. You become a seer, not through effort, but by tuning your field to the quiet instructions of the unseen. This vibrational alchemy is not about escaping the body. It is about deepening into it. You don't leave the world, you enter it more fully through frequencies. The wood of your desk hums. The air between people sings. Even silence has shape. And your sight no longer ends at your eyelids. You begin to feel seeing. A living geometry. A remembering beyond language. When this begins, your relationships shift. You stop explaining your intuition. You stop second-guessing your knowing. You no longer need validation, because the vision itself is confirmation. And those who cannot meet you there, who resist your clarity, will either fall away or rise to match it. You are no longer just a presence. You are a frequency shaping reality. Do not be surprised if animals begin to behave differently around you, or children, or the wind. Vision is not limited to what is visible. It is felt in how life responds. The more coherent you become, the more the world bends around you with reverence. Not because you are special, but because you are remembering what you are. A conscious field of harmonic knowing. And Thoth knew that once this eye opened in even one human, the veil across many would thin. That is why he hid the codes not in temples but in the breath, the silence, the vibration of truth. He knew the only place distortion could not touch was the place within you, your uncorrupted awareness, still humming in perfect tone beneath the noise. Now listen, not with ears, with presence. Feel the breath in your brow, the space behind thought. That is the doorway. That is the place he left it. That is where your vision waits. As your inner vision sharpens, something strange begins to happen. The world becomes both more magical and more transparent. You begin to see not only what is present, but what is missing. You walk into spaces and feel what has not been said. You look at people and sense the versions of themselves they've buried. This is the weight of sight, to see the invisible, not just the beautiful. You were not made to sleepwalk through life. You were created to see beneath the surface, to scan time with your breath and read energy like scripture. This is not fantasy. This is the natural inheritance of a being whose awareness is intact. Thoth didn't give his technique to awaken gods. He gave it to remind humans that they are already part of the divine spectrum, but dulled by forgetfulness. When your inner eye is truly open, you begin to feel time differently. Past and future start to dissolve into emotional tone. You sense that something is about to happen, or that an old experience is still living in the room, unspoken. This is vibrational time travel, not the kind with machines, the kind where emotion bends chronology and presence folds timelines into now. The forbidden aspect of Thoth's technique is not that it gives power, it's that it gives freedom. And systems built on control fear free people. Because the truly awakened cannot be manipulated, cannot be deceived. You cannot be sold fear if your inner eye sees through illusion. You cannot be rushed when your perception is synchronized with the eternal. This freedom grows slowly. You begin to trust subtle feelings over facts. You move because your field tells you to, not because logic permits it. You know when to be silent, when to leave a room, when to hold eye contact, just long enough to disrupt a lie. You don't argue with life anymore. You witness it and shift it from the field. You may begin to hear subtle sounds, tones in meditation, frequencies at night, or even whispers in dream. These are not hallucinations. They are the language of energy returning to your awareness. You are not going crazy. You are becoming tuned, and as you attune, you become the kind of person Thoth wrote for. One who receives, rather than seeks. In Egyptian mysticism, the Eye of Horus was not just a symbol of protection, it was a map of perception. Every curve, every mark corresponded to a sense sharpened beyond the physical. Sight, hearing, intuition, taste, thought, emotion, all woven into a single eye that feels the world, not just watches it. Thoth taught that to activate the eye was to unite the senses into knowing. That knowing will often feel like remembering. A place you've never been will feel familiar. A person you just met will trigger ancient memories. These are not past lives in the Hollywood sense. These are vibrational recognition, your soul responding to frequencies it once carried or once healed. The eye doesn't just see forward, it recollects what you fragment. The final stage of activation is not grand. It is quiet. It happens when you stop needing visions and instead live as one. When your presence becomes so precise, so clear, that people sense truth without you speaking. When your aura is not something you try to expand, but something you anchor. This is when the eye no longer flickers. It gazes endlessly from within. And in that gaze, the veil becomes optional. When the veil becomes optional, reality no longer holds you hostage. You are not imprisoned by appearances. You don't react to shadows. You respond from the core. This is the quiet miracle of inner sight. It returns you to the center, where clarity is more valuable than control, and presence becomes more powerful than prediction. Thoth taught that the one who sees truly never forces, they invites energy into alignment. At this stage, your perception becomes sacred geometry in motion. Every gesture, every word, every breath becomes part of a frequency loop that speaks to the field. You begin to notice that your inner state shapes your outer landscape. If you hold coherence, chaos bends around you. If you descend into distortion, reality mirrors it instantly. This is not punishment. This is feedback. The eye doesn't just observe, it emits. You are now not only seeing the field, but influencing it. This is the deeper secret Thoth guarded. Perception is creation. What you behold with presence, you energize. What you resist, you feed. What you witness without judgment, you alchemize. This is vibrational stewardship. And it requires deep compassion for the unconsciousness you will encounter. Not everyone will celebrate your clarity. Some will feel exposed by your gaze. They will call it intensity. They will call it too much. But that is not your burden to carry. Your task is not to dim your vision to fit their comfort. Your task is to see anyway, and to love anyway, because that gaze, when held in stillness, can awaken others even when they resist it. You may begin to experience spontaneous flashes, images, memories, symbols not your own. These are field transmissions. Your inner vision has become so clean that the collective unconscious begins to ripple through you. You are now reading not only individuals, but archetypes, energetic blueprints of humanity itself. This is the realm of seers and sages, those who translate vibration into clarity. This is why Thoth warned. Protect your energy, not in fear, but in honor. Your field is no longer private, it is radiant. And radiance attracts both resonance and interference. You must learn to feel the difference between activation and entanglement. Just because you see someone's wound does not mean it's yours to heal. Sometimes your role is simply to witness and walk on. The eye must rest too. Just as you blink to hydrate the physical eyes, you must nourish the inner eye with silence, nature, and sacred breath. Let the field clear. Let the geometry reset. You are not a machine for vision. You are a being of rhythm. Even Thoth, in his infinite sight, retreated into sacred chambers to restore coherence. Your modern temple may be your room, your solitude, your inner breath. Honor it. There will be moments when you doubt again, when you question what you see. This is natural. The world is loud, and your clarity will sometimes feel fragile, but the more you trust what you feel, the stronger the signal becomes. Inner vision is not infallible. It is fluid. Let it evolve, let it soften, let it guide, not dominate. The eye that sees clearly does not seek superiority, it seeks harmony. And when it finds it, even in fleeting moments, the entire field around you changes. You'll know because the air gets lighter, the people around you soften. Time seems to pause. That is coherence rippling outward. That is thought's secret working through your breath. And breath, beloved, is the first and final gate. In the breath, all secrets live. It is the rhythm of the divine speaking through your body. Before you had language, you had breath. Before you formed thoughts, you formed vibration. And in that vibration lives the original code. The one Thoth, guarded not in books, but in the pulse of your inhale. To return to breath is to return to sight, not the shallow breath of survival, but the sacred breath of presence. As you continue walking this path, you will begin to notice the eye opens most when the mind is quiet and the heart is soft. You don't need to force focus. You don't need to chant endlessly. You simply become available to the unseen, to the truth, to the silence beneath every moment. It is in this sacred availability that the technique becomes embodied. You become a bridge between worlds, between dimensions, between noise and knowing. Others may not understand what you carry, but they will feel it. They will feel safer around you without knowing why. They may confess things they haven't told anyone, not because you asked, but because your field has become a sanctuary. This is the silent work of the awakened eye, to restore harmony through presence alone. In this still seeing, you begin to notice how language distorts, how words can confuse more than clarify, how most speech is an echo of emotional misalignment. But you will also hear the power of sacred language, the words that cut through fog and land like a bell in the chest. These words don't come from effort. They arise from alignment. When your eye sees clearly, your voice follows. You may begin to speak differently, slower, more intentionally. Not because you're choosing words, but because you're channeling frequency. This is not performance. This is resonance. When you speak from your inner vision, even silence between words becomes electric. People hear what you don't say. They feel the truth underneath. And that truth heals. Thoth never promised this path would be easy, but he promised it would liberate. And liberation always begins with sight. When you see what is, not what you want, not what you fear, but what is, you reclaim your energy from illusion. You stop wasting force on appearances, you conserve your light. And in that conservation, your frequency rises without effort. This is when miracles begin. Not because you summoned them, but because they were always near, waiting for your field to become still enough to receive. Inner vision is the tuning. Your life becomes the instrument. The music it plays is no longer random, it is sacred, and you, beloved, are the player and the sound. Do not rush this. Do not seek visions as trophies. Let them come and go like waves. What matters is not what you see, but how you hold what you see. Can you witness pain without collapsing? Can you feel beauty without clinging? Can you know truth without preaching? These are the initiations of the eye. And as the technique becomes your breath, you realize something final, something exquisite. You are not the one using the vision. You are the vision, walking. There is a silence that falls at the end of the sacred path, not because there is nothing left to say, but because everything has been seen. When your inner eye opens fully, the world does not change. You do. The chaos remains, the stories unfold, the illusions dance. But you are no longer part of the trance. You are watching from the inside of eternity, unmoved and yet more alive than ever. And this is the great paradox Thoth spoke of. When you no longer need to see, sight becomes endless. When you no longer seek light, light begins to pour through you. You've become a vessel, not of visions, but of vibrational truth. Your presence alters reality, not by action, but by coherence. You don't shout your wisdom anymore. You radiate it. The inner eye is not a mystical reward. It is your birthright. Its return is not a miracle. It is a recalibration, a correction, a cosmic sigh through the architecture of your being that says, "Ah, yes, there you are. The world may never affirm it. Society may never honor it, but the field will know. The air will shift. Your dreams will soften, and the unseen will walk with you." Now anchor this vibration. Do not let it drift. Let your daily life become your ritual. Wake with awareness. Breathe with intention. Guard your silence like gold. Walk slower. Speak less. Listen more. Let music become sacred again. Let nature recalibrate you. Let each exhale be a letting go. Let each inhale be a doorway. The eye requires no worship, only integrity. When distortion returns, and it will, do not fear. The eye does not close. It simply waits. Waits for your return, for your breath, for your stillness, for your remembrance. You do not lose the vision. You drift from it, but it never leaves you, because you are not separate from it. You are its vessel. You are the lens through which the divine sees itself reflected in form. Speak the chant if you feel it rising. Tune the tone if your body vibrates with it. Light a candle if you need a mirror for your flame. But know this, you need no external ritual to awaken the sacred. It is already within you. Always was. Always will be. What Thoth gave was not a technique. It was a permission slip to remember who you are. And now that you've remembered, let it change you. Let your vision guide your choices. Let your clarity cut through distraction. Let your silence disrupt confusion. Let your peace ripple outward like a silent revolution. You are no longer blind. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer asleep beneath the veil. You are awake. You are radiant. You are the frequency that once built temples, now walking in modern skin. The one who remembers their vibration never begs for reality to change. They create it.